All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a pretty wild new model for how our universe got started. It throws out the old idea of an inflating balloon and replaces it with something, well, something with a whole lot more torque.
So I want you to forget everything you think you know about the Big Bang for a minute. This model asks a totally different question. What if the beginning of everything wasn't some slow, gradual expansion? What if it was just an instantaneous cosmic shatter? To even begin to wrap our heads around that, we have to start at the point where our current physics just gives up.
And that place is the singularity. You know the classic starting point? A single dot with zero size and infinite density. It's basically where all our math just throws its hands in the air and says, nope, can't compute. But the source material we're digging into today argues that this little point, it can't actually exist all by itself.
And here's why. This is the core idea. The point and infinity literally define each other. Think about it. A point only seems to have zero size because you're comparing it to the infinite space around it. And how do you measure infinite space? Well, you have to start from a point. They're two sides of the same coin. They pop into existence together, creating this incredible cosmic tension that just has to be resolved.
And that resolution? This is where things get really cool. To understand it, we're going to have to leave the world of cosmology for a second and take a little trip to the drag strip.
So picture this. Step 1, the dragster's in the staging lane. The tire is just sitting there, not moving. That's our singularity. A dot with mass, but no spin, no fury. Then, step 2, the light turns green. The RPMs absolutely scream, and the centrifugal force is so immense, it stretches that thick tire into a thin, spinning ring. Now, for step 3, imagine you could push those RPMs to infinity. What happens? The tire doesn't just expand, it completely shatters.
And that is exactly what this model says happened to the singularity. In a universe that's actually rotating, all that spin forces that zero-dimensional point to become a one-dimensional ring. All that infinite density gets smeared out along a spinning loop. It's not a hole in space, it's a ring of pure, unadulterated torque. So here's the kicker. When that spin got so fast it literally broke the rules of reality, the ring shattered. And this wasn't an explosion into space. According to this model, the shatter is what created space. This event is the Big Bang, but we're going to call it the infinite Xerox. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It's a massive shift in thinking. Our entire reality, the very fabric of space and the forward march of time, it's all just the cosmic debris, the shrapnel, left over from that one initial, impossible spin. So let's look at the nuts and bolts of this 0x event. Because the original point was zero-dimensional, it contained all the information but had no volume, every single shard it breaks into is a perfect holographic copy of the whole thing. These shards don't expand to fill space, they instantly multiply to become space, popping into existence at every single possible coordinate, all at once. Okay, but this idea immediately raises a huge question, one that's been bugging cosmologists for decades. If our universe is just all this cosmic shrapnel, then where's the dark matter? You know, the invisible stuff that's holding entire galaxies together? Well, the answer this theory gives is actually kind of beautiful. Dark matter is just the gravitational shadow of the unlit shards. You can think of them as holographic copies whose vibration, their wave phase, is just a little bit out of sync with ours. And because they're out of phase, they don't interact with light, so we can't see them. They're invisible. But we can feel their gravity, because gravity comes from the original torque of the shatter, and that force is baked into every single copy, lit or unlit.
All right, so we've got a universe made of spinning shards. But that brings up another problem, right? What keeps it all stable? What stops all these little spinning rings from just losing their momentum and collapsing right back into a single point? The model has an answer for that, too, a sort of cosmic safety net called the Phonon Threshold. Just think of it as a vibrational reset button for the universe. Whenever any one of these shards starts to lose its spin and is in danger of collapsing, this threshold kicks in and gives it an energy boost to get it spinning stably again.
Here's the mechanics of it. A ring's singularity is only stable as long as its spin energy is equal to or greater than its mass. If that spin drops too low, poof, the ring collapses. The phonon surge is that vibrational kick that basically converts a tiny bit of the shard's mass back into kinetic energy, back into fury, which restores the balance and keeps the whole universe from falling apart.
So, the phonon threshold keeps the individual shards stable. But what about the big picture? How do they all interact? Well, this model says the whole system has a rhythm, like a cosmic breath. You've got an out-breath wave coming from a source point, let's call it alpha, that builds up complexity and matter. And at the same time, there's an in-breath wave pulling everything toward a destination, omega, trying to bring all that fragmented information back to unity.
So what happens when these two giant cosmic waves, one pushing out to build things, the other pulling in to refine them, smack into each other? You get friction, you get heat. And in this model, that's all dark energy is. It's not some weird, mysterious anti-gravity force. It's just the thermal exhaust from that collision. It's the tax the system has to pay just to keep running.
Which brings us right back to this familiar picture of our universe. Modern cosmology has measured these proportions pretty accurately, about 68% dark energy, 27% dark matter, and a tiny 5% of the stuff we can actually see. But this toroidal model says these numbers, they aren't random at all.
And this is a really key insight. These percentages aren't some fundamental, unchangeable law of the universe. They're just a local measurement. It's like taking a snapshot of how much shadow from those unlit shards and how much thermal tax from those wave collisions happens to be in our little corner of the cosmos, right at this moment.
So watch what happens when we group these things together. All the matter, both the visible shrapnel and the invisible shadow, adds up to about 33%, or 1/3 of the universe's energy density. And the dark energy, that thermal tax, makes up the other 67%, or 2/3. Suddenly, we have this fundamental 1-to-2 ratio that's just baked into the reality we see around us.
And this is where it all comes together. That 1-to-2 ratio is the signature of the whole toroidal system, of that cosmic breath we talked about. It perfectly reflects a cycle where 2/3 of the energy is going into the out-breath, building all this amazing complexity, and 1/3 is dedicated to the in-breath, that refining force pulling all the information back toward unity.
So we're left with this really provocative final thought. Is it possible that everything we see, from the grandest cosmic structures down to the deepest mysteries of physics, isn't a bunch of separate problems to be solved, but just the different echoes of a single point that simply refused to stand still?